ores in vanilla Minecraft don't really fit into our mod pack. They're kind of just all over the place, everywhere, and there's no structure to them. So we changed it. So in our mod pack we don't have anything on the ground. All of the ores have been just completely removed. But that doesn't mean that we don't have any ores anywhere. And it also doesn't mean that you have to sift to get ores, because that would make it so that we have infinite ores, and one of the key structures of our mod pack is nothing is infinite, except of course the Wretched. But if you want to get more stuff, you need to go out there, you need to expand, expand, and expand. You will be able to find ores, because most ores are common. If we go looking around, and maybe I should do this without flying, since you won't be flying in survival, you will be occasionally able to find pebbles, like that, and some burning flowers next to them. These pebbles, their models might not be final, because I'm not sure how much I like them. Let me know your thoughts below. These pebbles are indicative of what kind of ore vein is to be found below. So this seems to be a pure nickel vein. So if we dig down right here, let's get us some torches. If we just keep digging down right here, eventually we will bump into a nickel vein. Right here. It is actually a nickel copper vein, but I guess we didn't see the copper one. Maybe it generated above the lava or something. And if we strip the chunks around here, you can see that these things are pretty large. And there's a secondary one right here, a saltpeter ore vein. And there's a zinc tin. There's a tin ore vein down here. And if you look at the general shape of them, they're kind of disc-like. Not exactly discs, but they are close to discs. That is intentional to kind of keep it, I don't want to say realistic, but just more fitting with the whole idea. And as you can see, they are plenty large to supply you for a couple days. But of course, this mod pack is not meant to last a couple days, it's meant to last a couple years. And it's of course meant to be on a server, so a single ore vein like this will not get you that far. Now a couple things about finding these ore veins is that of course, doing it in a biome like this is actually pretty good, because you can pretty easily spot pebbles. These are technically clay bits, but they're basically pebbles. I just didn't think it was a good idea to call them clay pebbles. Because of course, in these biomes, I can just spot stuff from afar because it's not very crowded. This is technically a forest, but even in this one, it's relatively easy. And we have just found gold. So, that brings me to a secondary step here. Or I guess a secondary point. Some ore veins are rarer than others. For example, gold is extremely rare. And we actually got really lucky with this one. Because these ones, if I am correct, generate in 1 in 10,000 chunks. While a normal ore vein, like this zinc one over here, is 1 in 250. So gold is incredibly rare to find, although you can find trace amounts in some iron veins and I believe also copper veins, but they're generally really rare. But let's get back to more about how to find these things. So one thing I would not recommend— oh, that broke all of the trees. Good thing this is just a test map. So one thing I would not recommend is going into a biome like that, because this biome over here is the densest thing that you have seen, including your mom. Finding pebbles in here is a nightmare. It is definitely doable, but there's clearly better options than just stumbling around in the forest right here for potentially tens of minutes to just find an ore vein. Except if you don't have an option. Obviously, in that case, this will do. The other option, of course, being that you will need wood anyways, so you can just kind of start cutting down the trees here, and that will help you spot some more pebbles easier. Although it won't help you that much until you clear out a large portion of this, obviously. The other thing with ore veins is that there isn't only one type of ore vein. These things that I've shown you of here, aka these normal ore veins, that you can just find with pebble indicators, that's my first redstone vein that I've ever found. That is actually the first redstone vein I have ever found. Wow. And we have done a couple months of playtesting on this, and this is my first redstone vein. Damn. Anyways, as I was saying, these type of ore veins are normal land ore veins. We have a different version of these, and in the future we might have a couple more, because of course the entire generation here is based on islands, on continents and islands. So the secondary type of ore veins are ocean ore veins. Now, these work a bit differently. There is no indicator for them, just zero. If you want to find them, good luck. There's plenty of methods to find them, besides, you know, just strip mining on the water. We have computer craft and aeronautics, so, you know, do with that information what you will. Let's see if we get lucky. We did not get lucky. However, if you do, like I just did right here, these ore veins, although they are 3 times rarer than their normal counterparts, they are 5 times as large. Of course, they will also be harder to extract, because oceans are deep. These are like the shallowest version of the oceans. So actually, this is a pretty lucky ore vein right here. And as you can see, these ores are gigantic. But again, they don't have any indicators and they spawn under the oceans. Now in the future I was also thinking of adding some mountain specific LODs. When I say LOD I mean large ore deposits. I probably should have mentioned it earlier. And maybe some other types. If you have any ideas, let me know down below. Because I would love to hear your ideas for just, you know, unique types of ore veins. That is mostly about the ores in the modpack. There is of course little caveats to all of the systems. Like for example, redstone, even though it's pretty rare, I believe it's 1 in 10,000 chunks. You can technically get redstone dust pretty easily, because redstone dust, ignore the broken textures, those will be fixed before the server comes out obviously. You can get this by sifting with a different amount of chance, I suppose, depending on how advanced is your sifter. Sifting is part of the ore processing, not a way to get ores, but it can dupe your ores and that can be very useful since, again, ores are very limited. And if you look around, you can see that the world gen kind of has changed since last time you've seen this. I'll talk about that on Tuesday. See you then.